welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking about the GameStop Requel. You heard that right, the GameStop Requel, and I'm not talking about this event here. I'm talking about what's to come next. Yeah, so this is a GameStop chart on the 5-year. It's pretty crazy. You can see we had this gigantic move here until they turn off the buy button, and then we've been cycling ever since to get killed in mid 2022, only to come back in 2024 and repeating this process all the way again. And I'm just going to quickly run through some charts that look very similar. So here's costs, very similar thing. Jan 2021, you got May, you got July, and then there's AMC, another similar stock, but this one RIP, too many dilutions. Before I begin, I just want to make it clear that what the official reported numbers were. So I've taken this exactly from the staff report coming from SEC themselves, and at that time we saw that GameStop had reached about 122.97%, and we had other stocks like Bed Bath & Beyond 66%. So we already know there were way more shares shorted than existed, right? We knew that. And what happened is, if we look back at this period, just running some math, I'm just going to open Perplexity real quick and show you guys the numbers. So where were we before? Like, how many outstanding shares did we have and how many total shorted shares we had? Going over that, you see the outstanding shares at that time of Jan 2021 were 67.5 million. And then the short percent outstanding was 140%. And this number is like disputed. I mean, there's many different sources, like FINRA that show 300% of the float. There's many high numbers, but let's just take 140% here, and then see what that number comes to today. So if you take a look at the outstanding shares, which was 67.5 million at the time, that would mean we have about 94.5 million shares shorted. All right, so these two numbers are important. We got 94.5 million and we got 67.5, so let's say shorted, and then we got 67.5 outstanding. All right, so now if you were to run these numbers, right, is GameStop still shorted? Where are we sitting at? Let's take a look at that. So coming to this page here, towards the end, you can see here that they kind of, like, the SEC kind of tried to go over this research on what triggered the short squeeze, and ultimately what it came down to is this. So you can see here it says figure 6 shows a run-up in GME stock price coincided with buying by those with short positions. All right, so far it sounds like shorts recovering, and that is what is causing the price to go up, right? Then it says clearly, however, it also shows that such buying was a small fraction of overall buy volume, and what GME share prices continued to be high after the direct effects of covering short position would have waned, right? So here, I mean, the SEC has pretty clearly stated that although the initial increase was due to shorts covering, everything else was not. That was just a small, tiny fraction of the volume that we were getting. So then you gotta think, then what caused the decrease in the short interest? Let's just go here. So let's say we have these numbers saved. I'm just gonna copy them for later. Let's say, what were you looking at? Oh yeah, GME short interest Jan 2021 to Feb 2021. So what happened? Like, why did we not go to the moon? Why did we not go to phone number digits? Well, we all know what happened Jan 28th, right? Jan 28th, they turned off the buy button, and that is quite an important number or event that happened. So we know that the hedgies were getting absolutely crushed. We know that the short covering was such a small percent of the overall buy volume, and we know the price just kept exploding, and it was so bad that they had to literally turn off the buy button. And one really good document is the Credit Suisse GameStop Archegos document here. Let me show you that one. There we go. Archegos, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. All right, so this is this is the actual report on Credit Suisse. And who are these guys, you might ask? So let me just show you exactly who these guys are. So we go look for GameStop. All right. So why is Credit Suisse involved here? Well, if you remember, there was a family office called Archegos that went bankrupt in March 2021, I believe. And basically what happened was this was just a family office, and somehow they managed to gain exposure to shorting GameStop without disclosing any numbers at all. So what could they have possibly done to do that? Well, here in this document, it actually explains it pretty well. They essentially use swaps. Swaps are like these. It's pretty complicated financial instrument, and the one thing you need to know is there's just no reporting. The reporting on that is so bad, like the data is not available at all, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But anyways, so coming back to this Credit Suisse report, check this. It says, you will recall they took an 800 million plus P&L hit in CS portfolio during GameStop short squeeze at the end of January. All right, so at the end of January, Jan 28, we know what happened, right? So it says we were fortunate that we happened to be holding more than 900 million in margin excess on that day, so no resulting margin call. Look at that. They just happened to get lucky that day. They had just barely enough to not get margin called. Since then, they pretty much swept all of their excess. So think the prospect of a 700 to 800 margin call is very real. If you see similar moves, also why $500 million is severe stress shortfall limit, not only reasonable but also plausible with more extreme moves. So basically, what they're saying is they almost got completely destroyed. They just were really lucky they had 100 million extra that day. And here you can see in Jan 2021, a historic rally in GameStop shares send the company stock price to 19 to 483 on Jan 28, a surge of 2,500%. All right, so Jan 28, right? So Jan 28, these guys were getting absolutely screwed. And then what do you know? Everyone is getting screwed, all these hedge funds. This is just Archegos. So think Archegos, one family office guy with billions of dollars of exposure. And this is one guy. Now think Melvin Capital. These guys were way bigger than this guy. Think Citadel Securities, right? So all these hedge funds are piling on GameStop. They're getting absolutely destroyed. They literally cannot do anything at all besides turn off the buy button, which they did, right? So they turn off the buy button. They probably dumped their money in their account, got their margin up just to avoid that margin call, and then somehow got the price down without covering, right? So if they turned off the buy button, what that means is they literally could not have covered. If they were covering, the price would have been going higher, right? But that's not the case here. They turn off the buy button. They somehow get rid of GameStop's short interest, goes all the way down to, I don't know, I think it was like 5 to 10%. So what happened at that time? How can we explain that the short interest went down? Well, they started to use many different techniques, which are outlined in this document. One of them includes using XRT as an ETF to short. So there's many different ways that they can hide what they're doing. ETFs are one big one. Options is another big one. But they just basically got rid of that short interest from GameStop and hid it into other instruments. And one of the biggest instruments are swaps. And that is basically explained all in this document on how this one family office was able to short GameStop with $1 billion almost using swaps, right? So that's currently where we are today. So we know that they never covered. They got destroyed at the end of Jan. They had turned off the buy button. They somehow got the short interest down, which we talked about was through different instruments. If you want to learn more, you can read about them here. Like there's a lot of detail here. Before this, we never knew what happened, but this document was a really good outline on how swaps are being used here. So this was a pretty famous event. What happened with Archegos? So let's see. Archegos, Credit Suisse loss. Let's see. Well, what we know is Credit Suisse got absolutely destroyed. They had to get absorbed by UBS. And at that time, UBS probably would have no idea what they're getting themselves into because of this huge lack of disclosure with swaps, right? So they were forced to absorb this huge swap position of Credit Suisse, and you can see the loss magnitude was really high. It destroyed Credit Suisse. It destroyed Nomura Bank. There was a lot of damage done, and that part is still not over. Like the swaps are still active. They're currently held by UBS, and if you were to come back to those numbers, right? So where are we today? So we had this initially. Let's say adjust this for the stock split. Adjust for stock split to see the current numbers. So in 2022, I believe, of July, GameStop did not a stock split, but they did a split as a dividend, which got treated as a split by the DTC. But coming to these numbers, we saw 270 million shorted. So that's accounting for the split, right? So we have 270 million that were shorted, and then 378 million, other way around. So 270 million total and 378 million shares shorted, all right? So that's really important. So let's write 378 million were shorted after stock split. And then we had 270 million outstanding. Now, why are these numbers important? So keep this number in mind, 378 million, right? So now let's do today. So today, when we look at GameStop's price, let's say GameStop Yahoo Finance, what does that look like? So take a look at this. So right now, this is the famous GameStop chart. We know it ran here, and we know Jan 28 they turned off the buy button, and at that time they would just ended up hiding the short interest in different instruments, and they managed to do it pretty well. But one thing that kept happening was we just kept seeing GameStop go over and over continuously, which doesn't make sense because the short interest was basically, according to official documents, evaporated. But you can see it keeps having these crazy spikes, right? Keeps having these crazy spikes, and then eventually it just got destroyed. So then here, like around this time period when that stock split as a dividend happened, this is where they basically, something changed at that time. Like something massively changed in terms of how much liquidity GME had, and they were able to just continuously hammer us over and over, and these spikes became smaller and smaller. But something happened here in May where we went on this crazy run, right? We went on a crazy run. Rewarding Kitty comes back, and then we're basically repeating this exact chart over and over again from 2024 to 2025. Why that is, the leading theory is that there's like multi-year swaps, like 4-year swaps, 5-year swaps, and during these rollover periods, we have these different price movements. So we can see like here, GameStop went crazy, and then what happened was Ryan Cohen, so he decided to dilute the company, right? So what he did was he announced an offering. GameStop comes down. I don't know if that happened here or here. It was one of them. But then Roaring Kitty tried to live stream. At that time, Ryan Cohen did another offering. So they do 2 offerings. They dilute the shares, which technically kind of helps the shorts if you think about it, right? Because now you're adding more to the supply. So that 100% now would be coming down to maybe like, I don't know, if it's 130, 120, 110, slowly coming down. But one thing that's extremely interesting is GameStop has this really hard support here at $23, like insane support. And you can see like after the dilution period, it comes down to 23, but then it does this crazy run again. Like again, it goes towards 34. And like honestly, if you think about it, if the shorts were covered, these spikes would not be happening. Like as we're diluting, we should be getting the AMC treatment. AMC is like, I don't know if you guys taking a look at AMC, but GameStop would be looking like this. Like it would have been just completely crushed after 2021. Like AMC went crazy with the dilution, and this is what it looks like. You can barely even see it here anymore. It just like completely destroyed. But something was different about GME over AMC. Why? Because AMC only had 11% in 2021, which is like nothing compared to what companies have nowadays. So why do we not look like AMC? That's an interesting question, right? Why do we not look like AMC? Why is it that this 23 support just keeps raising? And why is it that we keep going on spikes? Well, that's easy. You know that they haven't covered, right? The shorts haven't covered. And one thing that's really different is, yes, RC diluted us multiple times. Here, multiple times. But what happened was he ended up raising almost $10 billion in cash, right? So that's amazing, because now the shorts basically have no thesis on why GameStop's price should be down. And it's getting to that point where GameStop is starting to get a lot of traction. I mean, like, the media is starting to slowly change. Used to see nothing but hate, but you can slowly see, like, the media changing. You can see with the huge pile of cash, $10 billion. They're almost, I believe they're in like the top 20 companies with cash, like largest cash reserves, above Netflix too, I believe. But that's not what's important. What's important is that we're still in this cycle. Like, GameStop is the only stock in the world that can, I wouldn't say the world, I would say US markets. I don't know much about elsewhere, but it's the only stock in the US market that can continuously dilute while being able to raise money without destroying their shareholders like AMC did, because the short interest was above 100%. Now, we know that coming back to our official numbers, we know at one point there was 378 million shares shorted, and I'm just going to keep this as a baseline because we know that these guys have been shorting GameStop for the last like 5 years, like ultimately 5 years. You can see the official numbers even going up nowadays. But that is not important. What's important is how many shares are we at with the dilution? How many shares are we at with the dilution and split accounted for? All right, so where are we? Total shares outstanding post dilution is 447 million shares. And then what is the actual number of shares diluted? Did it say that up here? Increase from 67.5 to this, so you gotta subtract. Just don't want to do the math right now, but let's see here. 447 million, then we had 270 million post split. So as of March 2025, we had 447 million, and then shares diluted after the split is 177 million shares. So where have you seen this number before? Well, let me copy paste it. You have 177 million shares added after dilution, right? We had 378 million shares shorted after the stock split, and we had 270 million outstanding at that time. So right now, like, this was above 100%, right? 378 is above 270. So we know as long as we don't dilute above 270 million shares from 2021 numbers, then we're pretty much in the clear of staying above 100%. Now, we know that here, only 177 million have been diluted. Does this account for the latest earnings? Let's see. Does this come all the way to, what is it, September? So for September, it says 177 were newly diluted after the split, increasing the outstanding shares from 270 to 447. All right, so 447. All right, so we got 180 million shares. We're well in the clear. Now, one interesting thing is GameStop is the only company with a massive individual investor base, right? So we have shares directly registered, which take you completely out of the float. So what is that? How many shares are DRS'd? So we had 70 million shares DRS, right? So if you think about the numbers now, you got 177 million shares after dilution. We had about 280 million shares shorted. So now we still have 280 minus 77 technically of free space left, but we also have about 69.5 million direct register, right? So 69.5 million direct registered, which are out of the float. So you can see, like, just running these numbers, like, we are well above the 100% short interest. As long as we can stay below that 280 million shares shorted, and we have a long way to go for that, then we're always going to be above 100. And with this, we have some grace space as well. And then if you add like 9 million on, I guess it used to be 9 million times 4 on Ryan Cohen, like there's barely any shares. I mean, there's like none available. If Roaring Kitty comes back in the picture, it's like game over. But you can see why GameStop is in such a unique position to capitalize on what they are doing, and they're like, Ryan Cohen is doing a really good job of doing that. And then now with this new warrant dividend that they're gonna give, things are looking better and better. It's getting to that point where they can't really keep us down anymore. The institutional ownership has increased significantly. Here's the institutional ownership of GameStop. You can see it used to be high, then it went basically to zero, and then how much it has spiked. Like, it is at extremely high numbers now. You just cannot sleep on GameStop anymore with this huge amount of cash. Their earnings are positive too. Like, their earnings, they went from like, if you look at their revenue, it's slightly gone down, yeah, but that's all part of Ryan Cohen's strategy, where he's shutting down not profitable stores. So you'd expect the revenue to go down and the operating income to improve, which you can see it has significantly improved from 261 to 66. Their net income has gone from negative 215 to positive 168. So not only are they posting solid profits now, they have this insane position that puts them in a unique place compared to any other stock, that lets them continuously raise money while not destroying shareholder value. And we also have like significant amount of directly registered shares. We have a huge pile of cash, and ultimately, like, the shorts still haven't covered. So what I'm expecting is GME to continuously go up, whether that be in the cyclical way. So what I think is happening is this base is slowly increasing, and once we reach 32, or once we break 32, then we are gone. Like, we're gonna make a move like this. Like, it'll be an insane move. Don't sleep on it. Right now, you can see that we were literally deliberately getting stopped by RC himself, but from him doing offerings. But now that he has given the green light with the warrant dividend, it is literally game over for shorts. And the next time we break this number, it's gonna be huge. So the GameStop Requel is coming up. Don't sleep on it, guys.